Hi everyone, this is Tim. Welcome to North and South Podcasts. Hope you're all well. It's Mother's Day in the UK and it's Sunday the 10th of March 2024. And I just want to say, if you are lucky enough to still have your mum around, then wish her a happy Mother's Day. Even if you're not quite seeing eye to eye or you're estranged, just send that message. Just do it. And reach out to people who maybe you haven't spoken to for a while. And if there's difficulties between you and another person and you want to resolve them, drop your shield and just reach out. What have you got to lose? So, one day those people close to you won't be around. So seize the day and appreciate what you've got while you've got it. I hope you're all well anyway, and just some housekeeping before we get started. If you can support the podcast with the cost of a cup of coffee once a month, then go to coffee.com in the podcast notes and contribute there if you can. It makes a huge difference to this project. I'm looking to do more community work, working with other community groups and charities to help vulnerable people, to speak to people about getting their lived experience of things out there, and to just contribute good to society and people and to help people. So if you want to get involved in any way, let me know. There have been some people who've reached out, which has been good. If you want to come on the show, great. If you want to help out with video podcasts, if you can help out with editing or any technical stuff, or you want to join the team, don't hesitate to ask. We are looking to expand. We've got someone else coming in to do some projects in the charity field, which is slightly separate to this podcast. This podcast is separate to that kind of CIC or charity thing. The CIC is a community interest company. But if you want to get involved in good work in the local community, well-being, helping people, then please get in touch. Also, if you want to sponsor a podcast, and I don't even want it for it, but if you want to get some good information out there, if you want to make contributions, that's great. But if you want to sponsor this podcast in any way, that's fine. Although, if you're Elon Musk, I'm still going to have a go at you when I'm podcasting, so it won't have any impact on the content. Well, I would say that, wouldn't it? But if you want to sponsor any podcasts, you'll get a shout. And if you want to share good work in the community, that's fine. Let me know and I'll share your good work too. And if you know of any good podcasts, I've been listening to some good local podcasts recently, which I'm going to give shouts to at some point as well. But support independent podcasting as much as you can, because it just gets different messages out there from real people. Today, I'm just going to tell you something quite quickly about 5 regrets of the dying. And I've read a few books about people's experiences close to death, etc. But there's a podcast by Dr. Chatterjee, Chatterjee, and he does 2 a week. He's really good. He does a really long one. And he does like a summary one on a Friday, and both of them are brilliant. But you can pick and choose because one of them is quite long. I do recommend his podcast, but he had someone on who works closely with the dying, and I'm afraid my notes, I didn't write down any of the other details. But this person shared 5 regrets of the dying, and I'm going to share this with you, and I'm going to share one other thing I heard from this really good podcast by Dr. Chatterjee. And I'll put a link to the podcast in the podcast notes as well. Maybe not this one that I'm referring to, but just this general podcast. But check it out and check out Regrets of the Dying. There's some good work out there. I've read a book and I've listened to a few podcasts about it because it reveals what people do when death is close, and people who think that they're going to die and then come back, will survive or get through a difficult time. It changes the perspectives. And certainly when I had a rough year or a rough few years in the late noughties, it really changed my outlook on the world. So 5 regrets of the dying. They believe that they should have worked less. They believe that they should have allowed themselves to be happier, just be happier in your day-to-day living. Listen to some music, just smile, do things you enjoy. They believe that they should do what they want rather than what others would have wanted them to do. So to be true to themselves, that's important. They wish they'd have been truer to themselves. They wish they'd have expressed their feelings more. And that links into what I said about reaching out to people. And to say sometimes how you feel. You might be wrong in how you feel, but say how you feel now and again. And by work less, we're not talking about like just stopping working or whatever, but just make sure you know where your limit is and you look after yourself because no one else is going to look after you. And I've worked in some great places, but you know, when you leave, they do stop paying you. So look after yourself. Happiness is always there on our shoulder, and not allowing ourselves to be happier. That I think you can see people who do that. There's a great film at the moment out that by Wim Wenders or Wim Wenders or however it's pronounced about a Japanese man who's very mindful. And it's a good film to see. I read one of the reviews of it today about just being mindful and being happy in your day-to-day life. Obviously, to do what you want to do rather than what others want you to do, the third one, that's important. And now and again, I think you need to write down what you want. I do it fairly regularly, maybe once every 3 months. I write down what I want from life and review it. And then I use that to plan things that I'm going to do. Expressing your feelings I've just covered as the fourth one. I don't know why I mentioned four and then went back, but I suppose that's just the way things roll sometimes because I'm trying to do this in one take. But express your feelings. It doesn't mean that you lose control, but you express your feelings, you acknowledge them, process them. And finally, spend time with friends. Make time for good friends. Last night, one of my friends made some food and had loads of people around, family and friends at his house. And he's made like a little pub in the back garden. And I had a great time just catching up with people and chatting. So invest in friendship. It's really important. And when some friends are struggling, be that person who checks in on them. As you know, I've had a few bad months recently. I mentioned in I think 2 podcasts ago or whatever. But reaching out to people can make a big, big difference. So spend time with friends and plan to spend time with friends. And I heard another podcast by Dr. Chatterjee where someone was on saying every time they see themselves in a mirror, they high-five themselves and say, I need you, I need you, I need you, high five, to kind of change that negative inner critic we often have who just isn't very helpful. So I like that as well. I just thought I'd share that one. Another thing is stacking. And stacking is something I do a lot, and it's just something to bear in mind. I forgot where I got this from, but I heard it on a podcast, and it was like this stacking is when you're constantly like thinking in your mind what you need to do rather than living in the present, and to be mindful of stacking. And if, like me, you find that a problem, I have a list of things I write down to do, and then a daily list, and that's informed by what I want from life, which I review every 3 months as well. But you know, something comes in your head that you need to do. Some people remember them. I don't. Write it down, and then you can deal with them later. Avoid that mental stacking where you've got like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 things going on because it just takes us away from ourselves. And the other interesting definition of stacking, which I found useful recently, is when you're watching a film and checking your phone and eating, and you're stacking up dopamine hits one on top of each other, which become more addictive. And again, it takes you away from you just being with yourself. So that'll do for today. Reach out to people, appreciate your mother, appreciate others. Think about those 5 things: work less, allow yourself to be happier, Be true to yourself, do what you want to do, not what others are expecting. Doesn't mean that you dismiss advice. Express your feelings and be okay with feelings and emotions, and spend quality time with friends. And just think about stacking. Don't let metal stack and build up. Find a way of processing it without it making you miserable. And try not to layer dopamine hits upon dopamine hits upon dopamine hits, because our brains get addicted. Look after yourselves, folks.